Hi friends, welcome to Gallant Ias. The very purpose of this video is to make you aware about the importance and relevance of Indian polity in UPSC preparations. So, what is the importance of Indian polity? Because questions are asked for both prelims as well as for mains. See, there are some subjects like Indian society, internal security, and world history. Say example. From these topics, questions are asked only for mains examinations and not for prelims. But for Indian polity, average of 14 to 16 questions were asked from Indian polity alone, which accounts for nearly 28 to 32 marks. And regarding mains, average of 100 plus marks were asked from Indian polity alone. So that's the relevance of Indian polity in UPSC examinations. Let's make a detailed analysis of preliminary previous year questions. See, in the year, 18 questions were asked from Indian polity, which accounts for 36 marks. And see the latest trend in 2018 and 2019, 15 questions each were asked from these topics. That means which accounts for 30 marks. Okay, but the only exception happened is in the year 2016, and that year only 6 questions was asked. But again, see what happened in 2017, 22 questions, which accounts for 44 marks were asked from Indian polity alone. And the cutoff marks for that year was 105. That means 42% of cutoff marks were asked from Indian polity alone. That means Indian polity has the high potential to make you clear the prelims, right? And when analyzing the main trend, in 2013, 9 10-mark questions was asked. That means about 90 marks. But see the modern trend in 2018 and 19, 5 10 marks and 5 10 marks and 5 15 marks were asked. That means 125 marks were asked from Indian polity alone. See, in GS2, the topics include Indian polity, governance, social justice, and international relations, which accounts for a total of 250 marks. And out of this 250 marks, 125 marks comes from Indian polity alone. That means half of the marks come from Indian polity alone, right? So we must not leave polity at any cost. Apart from GS2, the constitutional provisions of polity can also be quoted in GS4, that is ethics paper, and also for essay, so that it could improve your answers as well. So that's the important. So you must not leave polity, and you must give utmost importance when preparing Indian polity. And one more thing to be noted, it is one of the most easiest and interesting subject to learn and also to score marks. But I know that personally, some aspirants fear polity. I feel it can be because of a lack of proper understanding of the subject, or maybe due to lack of proper strategy in them. So you need not worry about that. We will take care of it. Okay. And regarding the preparation, there is no clear-cut division that is polity for prelims or polity for mains likewise. We have to study it comprehensively altogether, but the approach is different because in prelims, we will focus on facts and concepts, but in mains, we will focus on the analytical part. That means we have to analyze the facts and concepts in mains. That's the only difference, and there is no clear demarcation between polity for prelims or polity for mains. We have to study it all together, but only the approach varies. I'll give an example for that. Here is a previous year question for prelims. Which of the following are included in the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court? See, this is a factual question. Here the question is regarding the concerned power of Supreme Court, that is the facts associated with the powers of Supreme Court. But see, the main question, is the High Court's power to issue writs wider than that of Supreme Court of India? Here also, the power of Supreme Court and High Court is asked, but in a comparative method, whether the power of High Court is more than that of Supreme Court regarding the jurisdiction. So that based on our knowledge of existing facts and concepts, we have to analyze in mains. So this is the approach, right? In prelims, they will be asking the facts and concepts. So what are the powers of Supreme Court? Say example. But in mains, we have to compare with powers of High Court in an analytical manner. Let's move on to another example. Here the question is, which one of the following is not a feature of Indian federalism? Again, here the concepts. So what is mean Indian federalism, or what are the features of Indian federalism? That's what they mean by this question. But when looking for mains, we'll get that though the federal principle is dominant in our constitution, and that principle is one of its basic features. But it is equally true that federalism under the Indian constitution leans in favor of a strong center. That is a feature that militates against the concept of strong federalism discussed. See, we know that uh, India is a federal country. That means clear demarcation of power between center and states. Okay, and that feature is asked for prelims. But in mains, what they say is that even though India is a federal country, a little biasness is towards the center. That means more powers are concentrated in the hands of the central government, and we have to discuss it. That means based on the existing facts and figures, the futures of Indian federalism, we have to make an analysis whether some powers are more for center or not. So this is the approach for mains, right? We'll give you one more example regarding the anti-defection. The prelims question was, which one of the following schedules of the Indian Constitution contains provision regarding anti-defection, right? So the factual part, that is anti-defection, comes under which schedule of the Constitution was asked in prelims. But see, the question means the role of individual MPs has diminished over the years, and as a result, healthy constructive debates on the policy issues are not usually witnessed. How far can this be attributed to the anti-defection law, which was legislated but with different intentions, right? Here they asked is the role of anti-defection law to diminish the role of individual MPs. So we have to make an analysis based on the facts and the futures of anti-defection law. So this is the approach. We have to study anti-defection altogether, including the current affairs, and the static part or the factual part is asked in the prelims question, and the analytical part is asked for mains, right? And here, incorporating all those things will provide you with the comprehensive preparation for both prelims as well as mains, and there is no separate classification for polity prelims or for polity mains. We'll be covering it all together, right? For that, we must know the exact syllabus to be studied. So UPSC provides us with a syllabus for GS2, that is Indian polity. It reads Indian Constitution, that is historical underpinnings, evolution, features, amendments, significant provisions and basic structure, functions and responsibilities of the Union and states, issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure, devolution of powers and finances up to the local levels and challenges therein, separation of powers between the various organs, dispute redressal mechanisms and institutions, comparison of Indian constitutional scheme with that of other countries, parliament and state legislature, that is their structuring, functioning, conduct of business, powers and privileges, and issues arising out of this, structure, organization and functioning of executives and judiciaries, ministries and departments of the governments, pressure groups and formal informal associations and their role in Indian polity, salient features of Representation of People's Act, appointment of various constitutional posts, powers, functions and responsibilities of various constitutional bodies, statutory, regulatory and various quasi-judicial bodies. So this is the syllabus provided to us by the UPSC. So to cover the entire syllabus for an effective preparation, we provide classes for all the important topics. Say example, here we are going to discuss about the constitution, its salient features and the difference between written and unwritten constitution, about acts, bills, articles, schedules, all those we'll be discussing, again related to preamble and all those adjectives or the terms associated with the preamble, whether it can be amended or not, we'll be discussing here, and the nature of parliamentary form of government. See, in India, we form parliamentary form of government, right? And in USA, they follows the presidential form of government. So we'll be dealing with the difference between parliamentary form of government and the similarities or advantages or disadvantages in the both parliamentary and presidential form of government. And what's the motive that opts us for choosing this parliamentary form of government? We'll be discussing it. And again, federal system we'll be discussing it, because India is a federal country. That means clear demarcation of power exists between the center and state governments, right? Again, basic structure of the constitution. What forms the basic structure or what is mean by basic structure? Whether it can be amended. So we'll be discussing about amendments. That means who has the power to amend the constitution. Amendment means to make changes to the constitution, because as a society evolves, the social, economic and political conditions varies, right? So incorporate all that, our constitution also need to get changed, right? So that is called amendment. So who has the power to amend the constitution? or the procedures regarding the amendment, all those we'll be discussing here. Again, union and its territories, fundamental rights. See, fundamental rights, one of the most important topic in UPSC preparation because it helps to know the rights of an Indian citizen. Say example, okay, I am here to take class in front of you, right? This is because the constitution under Article 19 guarantees an Indian citizen that the right to choose his profession or to do any trade or businesses with some exceptions, right? So that is why because I am able to take class in front of you here. Or we can say that many aspirants move from their hometown to Delhi or Hyderabad or Bangalore, Chennai, Trivandrum, so and so for preparing civil services. Why? Because the constitution, that is our Indian constitution under Article 19, guarantees every citizen the right to move within the territory of India and also reside anywhere. Again, with some exceptions. So, because of that right only, we are moving from one place to another. A person from Trivandrum going to Delhi or a person from Nagaland coming to Gujarat. This is because the constitution guarantees us the right to move within the territory and also reside in some other places, right? So, fundamental rights will make us to know the rights of an Indian citizen, right? And we'll be discussing that in detail. And again, directive principles. These are the principles which helps the state for the governance of the country. Again, fundamental duties. So we enjoy certain kind of rights, right? So that we are also bound to do some of our duties. We'll be discussing that. Again, Parliament. See, Parliament is the highest law-making body in the country. No, as we all know that Parliament consists of two houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So in that chapter, we'll be discussing about the details of Lok Sabha, its law-making procedures, the role of Speaker and Deputy Speaker, and the role of Cabinet. Or regarding Rajya Sabha, we'll be discussing about the Chairman, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, and the importance of Lok Sabha and importance of Rajya Sabha, their similarities, their dissimilarities, all those we will be discussing under the section Parliament. Similarly, state legislature. See, in India, the formation of state legislature is not uniform because some states are provided with unicameral legislature. Unicameral means that legislature has only one house, that is Legislative Assembly. But some states are provided with bicameral legislature. Bicameral means, bi means two. That means that legislature has two houses, that is Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council. So, when dealing with state legislature, we will be discussing about the importance of assembly, importance of council, their similarities, dissimilarities, and powers and function in detail. Okay. Again, union executives. In under our constitution, union executive includes President of India, Prime Minister of India, Vice President of India, Central Council of Ministers, and Attorney General. So here we'll be discussing the appointment or election procedures of those executives, their powers, functions, etc. We'll be dealing there. Similarly, under state executives, that is Governor, CM, that is Chief Minister, State Council of Ministers, and Advocate General. Their mode of appointment, removal procedures, or their functions and responsibilities will be dealing under state executives. Okay. Regarding union territories, see, apart from states, we have certain areas called union territories which are administered under the control of central government. Say example, Andaman Nicobar Islands or Lakshadweep or National Capital Territory of Delhi. So those areas have separate provisions or separate governing mechanisms. So we'll be discussing it there, right? Judiciary. Judiciary, we have single integrated system of judiciary with Supreme Court at the top, right? So when we reach there, we'll be discussing about the powers, functions, and the mode of appointments of judges, its jurisdiction, various kinds of jurisdictions are there, and we'll be comparing it with High Court jurisdiction, right? So that's the manner we'll be studying judiciary. Again, local self-governments, that means the panchayats and municipalities, etc., which comes under 73rd and 74th Amendment Act. We'll be discussing it in detail because these institutions enhance the grassroots level democracy, right? Again, central-state relations, about GST Council, emergency provisions, and the difference between national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency, or who has the power to proclaim emergency. All those we'll be discussing in detail. Regarding constitutional bodies, see, the bodies, constitutional bodies means the bodies which are established under the provisions of a constitution. That means those bodies have more importance than other bodies. Say example, Election Commission of India or Finance Commission or CAG. So when we're dealing with the constitutional bodies, we will be studying about the concerned officers, powers and functions, appointment, removal, everything we'll be studying in detail. Again, non-constitutional bodies like say example Nidhi Aayog, or which is an executive body, or National Human Rights Commission, which is a statutory body, that means a body established by the Act of Parliament. We'll be discussing in detail. Again, elections and election laws, political parties. So when regarding political parties, we will talk about who is eligible for a national party, or which party is eligible for national party and its criteria, and who declares it. Similarly, against state party. So because questions are asked from these topics in the UPSC prelims or for mains, that's why these are given more importance. Okay. Again, pressure groups, citizenship, who is granted citizenship under India, likewise, and scheduled tribes. So these are the areas we'll be going to cover under our course. So please note that these are not the number of modules or the order in which we'll be taking the classes, but it is an outlay of topics which are going to be covered here, right? And we have to know that what all the things we have to read, or what all the sources we are required for this preparation for Indian polity. So before we get into the sources, we must know what all the things we are going to learn here, right? So first of all, we will be learning about the constitution. That means constitution, preamble, fundamental rights, DPSP, so and so, which we discussed earlier. Secondly, we will be discussing about the important laws or acts or pending bills in the parliament, because laws and pending bills in the parliament are asked in prelims or in mains. I'll give an example. In prelims, a question was asked. Consider the following statements. That is, as per the recent amendment to the Indian Forest Act 1927, the forest dwellers have the right to fell the bamboos grown on forest areas. Statement number 2. As per the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006, bamboo is a minor forest produce. So here, some of the facts or features regarding those acts were asked in prelims, right? We'll give another example. Here, the facts or features regarding Maternity Benefit Act is asked. That means important laws passed by the parliament or pending bills are asked in the prelims as well as for mains. See, a mains question says, explain the salient features of the Constitutional 101st Amendment Act 2016. Do you think it is efficacious enough to remove the cascading effect of taxes and provide for a common national market for goods and services? See, this is regarding the GST Act, right? So, in the GST coming to be, this question was asked, and here the features and its analytical part is asked in mains, right? Next question, discuss section 66A of IT Act with reference to its alleged violation of Article 19 of the Constitution. So this shows that the laws passed by the parliament or the pending bills, the important pending bills in the parliament are very much important for us, because UPSC frame questions based on that. Okay, so we'll be studying the Constitution, laws passed by the parliament or pending bills. The third thing we are going to learn is important Supreme Court verdicts, right? Because again, questions are asked directly in the mains. Let's say some example. Whether the Supreme Court judgment can settle the political tussle between the Lieutenant Governor and the elected government of Delhi. Examine. See, there were issues regarding the powers and functions of Lieutenant Governor and the elected government of Delhi. At that time, the Supreme Court gave a verdict for that. So, based on that verdict only, this question was framed. Let's move on to the second example. Critically examine the Supreme Court's judgment on National Judicial Appointments Commission Act 2014, with reference to the appointment of judges of higher judiciary in India. See, a few years back, Supreme Court struck down the National Judicial Appointments Committee, saying that it violates the basic feature, that is, it violates the independence of judiciary in India. So, Supreme Court struck down that act. So, there came in the question. Again, examine the scope of fundamental rights in the light of latest judgment of Supreme Court on right to privacy. Again, Supreme Court judgments. These are just examples. Many more questions were asked based on the Supreme Court judgments. So, what will be focusing? The Constitution, the laws and pending bills in the Parliament, and Supreme Court judgments. Okay. So, to incorporate all these things, we have framed the classes likewise. We have to follow the class lectures and explanations. So, we will be covering all those things in detail. And a class handouts will be provided to you, which will be very short and you can use it for revision purpose, right? And there is a book called Lakshmi Kant. See, it's a decent book for preliminary examinations because it contains lot of facts and figures. So it will be very much useful. You can use it for reference purposes concerning prelims. And for mains, you can follow the class lectures and also class handouts provided. And also you can follow the newspaper or current affairs magazines for current affairs part. Okay, that means for mains analytical part. And there are books like D.D. Basu, Subhash Kashyap and NCRTs. You need not worry about that. We will take care of those books because we know that you have only limited time. So we will take care of those research works and be providing those contexts in the class lectures and the class handouts. So what you mainly want to focus is class lectures and explanations, class handouts for revision purposes, Lakshmikant for reference purposes for prelims, and you can follow newspapers, or at the end we will be providing you with current affairs courses on Indian polity also, right? So because current affairs is that much important for prelims as well as for mains. Okay, because almost all these, so mainly mains questions are framed based upon the current affairs topics. Okay, and prelims also, questions are framed either directly questions are asked or the static part associated with the prominent current affairs were asked in prelims also. Let's move for example. So when the Aadhaar card was widely, the privacy issues of Aadhaar card was widely discussed and debated, a question came. That is, Aadhaar card can be used as a proof of citizenship or domicile, or once issued, Aadhaar number cannot be deactivated or omitted by the issuing Aadhaar likewise. So this is based on the current affairs question. That is the direct current affairs. Again, another question is, before 2019 prelims, one of the prominent current affairs in the nation was that Supreme Court striking down section that is part of section 377 as unconstitutional, which is related to LGBT rights. Okay, but the question asked was, which article of the Constitution of India safeguards one's right to marry the person of one's issues? See, LGBT issues is related to choosing life partner, right? And the choosing life partner comes under the article 21 of the Indian Constitution, that is right to life. So that was asked here. That is right to marry one person comes under which article of the Constitution was asked. That is the static portion associated with the current affairs was asked here. So this is the manner you have to prepare. So when you come across any prominent current affairs, you have to study the static part along with that because we can expect a static questions of that too, right? Regarding mains, the question asked was, in light of recent controversy regarding use of electronic voting machines, what are the challenges before the Election Commission of India to ensure the trustworthiness of elections in India? The concept of cooperative federalism has been increasingly emphasized in recent years, highlight the drawbacks in the existing structure and extent to which the cooperative federalism would answer the shortcomings. Because when the NDA government came into power, there arose a concept called cooperative federalism. So the question came regarding the controversy of electronic voting machines. Again, the question comes. So this shows the importance of current affairs in UPSC preparations for both prelims as well as for mains. Okay. So by incorporating all these elements, we planned our classes or courses in the following manner. First of all, we'll be stressing the previous year questions because previous year question is the only link that connects us to the UPSC, right? So what we plan is, after the end of each module or each session, we will be discussing the previous questions associated with those concerned topics. Say example, if we discuss preamble today, say example. So after that modules get completed, we will be discussing the previous year questions associated with the concerned topic, that is preamble of both prelims as well as mains. So by doing so, you could understand how UPSC frame questions or what is the trend or the nature in which UPSC frame questions. So that's our sole purpose because you must know what UPSC demands. So it is possible only through analyzing the previous year questions. So we'll be giving more importance to previous year questions. Okay. Second thing is, we encourage comparative learning. That means, say, when we study about President of India, then we will be studying about the governor of the state because the powers and functions of governor and president are almost similar. So if you know about the president, it will be easier for to understand the role and powers of governor. Similarly, when you study Prime Minister, we will compare it with CM, that is Chief Minister. Or when you study Supreme Court, the powers and functions, we will be learning about the powers and functions of High Court. So by making a comparative study, it will be much helpful for you to remember all those facts. Similarly, if you came to know about the passage of bills in the Parliament, this almost same procedure is followed in the state legislature also. So it will be easier for to understanding, also to learn quicker, right? Uh, this comparative study is applicable not only for Indian polity, but also for other subjects also, because there's a concept called UPSC twins, right? That means those two topics are almost identical or almost similar. So UPSC can frame a question, that is the fact or feature of one topic can be interchanged with the other one, so that you could be confused. So that's why we have to make a comparative study. So in case of history, we can say that Buddhism and Jainism can be called UPSC twins because the features of Buddhism and Jainism can be interchanged. Or in economy, we can say that IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, and World Bank can be interchanged. Or regarding difference between capital account and current account. In geography, we can say that tropical cyclones and temperate cyclones, because these are almost similar topics, right, with the minute variations. Again, in geography, we can say that the difference between or similarities between El Nino and La Nina. So in all those subjects, you have to make a comparative learning so that it will be easier for to remember, and also it will be easier for you to score marks in prelims as well as for mains. Okay. And the third approach we do is the answer writing practice. That is, after the end of each module, we will be giving you an assignment. That's a mains question. Mostly it will be PIQs, that is previous year questions, or we will be giving a model question. So you have to write the answer and submit to us, and we'll be giving you regular feedback so that you could improve your answer writing skills, so that you could score more marks, right? By regular answer writing, at the end you will make a perfect answer and you can score marks. So answer writing practice is also one of our strategy. And after the course gets completed, we will be conducting test series for both prelims and as well as for mains, because practicing more questions will make you a little bit freer, right? That means when you attend for prelims 2021, you'll be free, you'll be free from all those tensions because you have practiced many such mock tests, right? So these are our strategy. That means you'll be stressing on previous year questions, will encourage comparative learning and answer writing practice for mains, and also test series will be encouraging that. Okay. And one more thing you must note, that there's a secret for Indian polity, that is exceptions. Polity contains lot of exceptions. See, earlier we discussed regarding fundamental rights. That is, an Indian citizen can choose any profession according to his or her choice, with some exceptions, because the constitution or parliament provides some exceptions. That is, I cannot do business regarding explosives or nuclear weapons, right? For nuclear weapons, because that is accepted by the state government, right? So that exceptions we have to taken care of. Or regarding the right to freedom of movement, as we discussed earlier, I have the right to move within the territory of India, but with some exceptions. Say, example, now due to COVID-19 issues, our movements are restricted during lockdown. Why? For the larger public interest. So, such cases, the state or the government can regulate or restrict our movements, or they can curtail our freedom for a larger public interest. So that means there are some exceptions in the polity, and if you are good in exceptions, then you are done with that, right? So moving on to a question based on exceptions, consider the following statements. No criminal proceedings shall be instituted against the governor of a state in any court during his term of office. See, this concerned statement is an exception to Article 14, that is equality before law. Because Constitution under Article 14 says that all citizens are equal before the law. But there are exceptions, like that is, criminal proceedings cannot be instituted against the President of India or the governor of the state in any court during their term of office. So there likewise many exceptions are there. So we must learn all those exceptions. Okay. Another question. A British citizen staying in India cannot claim right to. This means in our fundamental rights, some rights can be claimed only by the Indian citizens, right? So that is exceptions. Some rights are only for Indian nationals. So we must know that exceptions. Another question is, which of the following statement or statements is or are correct? This question is regarding the dissolution of Lok Sabha. That means normally almost all the bills get lapsed after the dissolution of Lok Sabha, except a few kinds of bills. That exception is asked in this question. So if you know exceptions, you can score more marks. So remember one thing, perfection in exceptions make your polity preparation perfect, right? And the last thing we want to share you is the mantra to success. That is minimum sources and maximum revision. We always repeat, all you want to focus is on the minimum sources, right? And you have to revise it continuously. That is revise continuously so that all those facts will be in your mind, right? And so I want to say finally is that in this collective preparation strategy, that means we'll be preparing all together, we'll be sharing our works to be done. That is, that is Gallant Ias will take care of the resources and the research works. And what we want you to do is to do the maximum number of revisions. Okay, we will take care of the sources, that is our duty, and your duty is to do maximum number of revisions. Not only for Indian polity, but also for other subjects like history, geography, economy, and also for environment, ecology, everything, right? So do maximum revisions. So revision is the only key to success, right? Once Rabindranath Tagore said, you can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the water. So, without making a second thought, start the preparation at the earliest and achieve your dream. Wishing you all the success. Bye.